I still can't believe it happened, and honestly even now, months later, the anger still simmers beneath the surface. My wife, the woman I married, the mother of our 1-year-old daughter, packed her bags, bought a ticket, and jetted off to Europe for an entire month, leaving me, her husband, with our infant. No discussion, no real planning, just a casual announcement that she was going, and I was expected to just handle it. Was I wrong for what I did next? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same thing if you were in my shoes? It all started subtly, I suppose. Sarah and I had been married for 3 years when our beautiful daughter, Lily, arrived. The first year of parenthood, as many of you know, is a whirlwind. Sleep deprivation becomes your new normal. Every tiny milestone is a cause for celebration, and your life, as you knew it, evaporates into a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and endless cuddles. I loved Lily more than words could express, and I truly believed Sarah did too. We both worked, though my job was more flexible, allowing me to take on more of the daily childcare responsibilities. Sarah, however, seemed to struggle more with the transition into motherhood. She often complained about feeling trapped, about missing her old life, about the endless demands of a baby. I tried to be supportive, suggesting we hire a part-time nanny or that she take a weekend trip with her friends to recharge. I was always trying to find solutions, always trying to make things easier for her because I loved her and I believed we were a team. I remembered one evening about 6 months after Lily was born, Sarah came home from work looking particularly harried. She tossed her keys on the counter with a sigh and just collapsed onto the sofa. "I just can't do this anymore," she mumbled, her voice muffled by the cushions. I sat down beside her, rubbing her back. "What's wrong, honey? Is it work? Is it Lily?" She sat up, her eyes a little red-rimmed. "It's everything. It's the constant noise, the sticky fingers, the feeling like I can't even go to the bathroom alone. I miss being me. I miss spontaneous trips, late nights, just freedom." I tried to be understanding. "I get it, Sarah. It's a huge adjustment, but we can figure this out. Maybe we could look into a babysitter once a week so we can go out, just us." She just shook her head. "It's not enough. It's not the same." I didn't push it, thinking it was just a bad day. I made dinner, took care of Lily, and let Sarah decompress. I truly thought she was just going through a rough patch, a normal part of new parenthood that would pass. We had always been good communicators, or so I thought. We talked about our future, our dreams, our shared vision of raising a family. When we decided to have Lily, it was a joint decision, full of excitement and anticipation. I never once doubted her commitment to our family, to me, or to our child. Fast forward to when Lily was just shy of her first birthday. Things hadn't exactly improved on Sarah's end. She still seemed perpetually stressed, easily irritated, and often retreated into herself. I was doing almost all of the nighttime wake-ups, handling the morning routine, and taking Lily to daycare before heading to my own job. My work was mostly remote, which was a blessing, allowing me to be present for Lily in a way many fathers can't. I cherished every moment with my daughter, even the exhausting ones. One Tuesday evening I was cooking dinner, Lily was babbling happily in her high chair, and Sarah walked in, a strange glint in her eye. She was holding her phone, scrolling through something intently. "So I've booked a trip," she announced, not looking up. I paused, knife midair over a bell pepper. "A trip for us? That's great. Where are we going?" I was genuinely excited, thinking she was finally trying to plan something for our family, a much-needed break for all of us. She finally looked up, a small, almost defiant smile on her face. "Oh no, just for me, to Europe. I'm going for a month." The knife clattered onto the cutting board. The sound echoed in the sudden silence of the kitchen. You what?" I stammered, my mind struggling to process what she was saying. "Europe, for a month, and just you." She shrugged as if this was the most normal thing in the world. "Yeah, I need a break, a real break from everything. I've always wanted to see Italy, France, Spain, and now's my chance. My friend Jessica, she's going too. We've got it all planned out." My jaw literally dropped. I looked at Lily, who was happily smearing pureed peas on her face, then back at Sarah. "What about Lily? What about our family? What about me?" My voice was rising, a mixture of disbelief and anger bubbling up inside me. Sarah rolled her eyes, a gesture that always infuriated me. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. You've got it covered. Your job is flexible, you work from home most days. You can handle her, it's just a month. Just a month. Just a month of me being a single parent, working full-time, taking care of an infant with absolutely no support. The sheer audacity of it left me speechless for a moment. Are you serious right now, Sarah? You're just going to abandon us for a month to go on a vacation? We have a 1-year-old daughter, she needs her mother. I pointed at Lily, who, sensing the tension, had started to whimper. Sarah sighed dramatically. She has you, and honestly she won't even remember she's one. I need this, John. I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. I need to rediscover myself. Rediscover herself. While I was left to rediscover how to survive on 3 hours of sleep with a crying baby. What about my needs, Sarah? What about my exhaustion? Do you think I'm not burnt out? Do you think I wouldn't love to just jet off to Europe for a month and leave everything behind? I practically yelled. She just stared at me, a coldness in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Well, you can't, can you? Someone has to be responsible, and frankly, you're better at the baby stuff anyway. It'll be fine. And that was it. No further discussion. No attempt to compromise. No acknowledgement of my feelings or the monumental task she was dumping on me. The tickets were bought, the itinerary was set. She was going and I was staying. My parents lived a few states away and Sarah's parents were even further. We didn't have a strong local support system. Our friends had their own young children and demanding jobs. I was truly alone in this. The next few weeks were a blur of resentment and preparation. Sarah made a perfunctory effort to help me get ready for her departure. She bought extra diapers, stocked up on Lily's favorite purees, and even wrote down a few schedules. But it felt performative, a way to assuage her own guilt rather than genuinely assisting me. Every interaction felt strained, laced with unspoken anger on my part and a defensive nonchalance on hers. I tried to talk to her again, to appeal to her sense of responsibility, to remind her of our vows, our partnership. Sarah, please reconsider. Maybe a shorter trip, a week even, or we could go together later this year as a family. She just shook her head, her resolve unwavering. My mind is made up, John. I need this. You'll be fine. You always are. That last sentence stung the most. You'll be fine. You always are. It wasn't a compliment. It was an expectation, a justification for her to abdicate her responsibilities, knowing I would pick up the slack, because I always did. I realized then that she truly didn't see me as an equal partner in parenting, but rather as the default parent, the one who would always step up. The day she left was surreal. She kissed Lily goodbye, a quick peck on the forehead, and then gave me a hug that felt entirely hollow. Be good, you two, she chirped, grabbing her designer luggage. I'll call when I land. And then she was gone. The door closed and the silence that followed was deafening, amplified by the sudden weight that settled on my shoulders. I stood there for a long moment, Lily clinging to my leg, looking up at me with wide, innocent eyes, completely oblivious to the seismic shift that had just occurred in our small family. I felt a surge of protectiveness for my daughter and a cold, hard anger towards my wife. I knew in that moment that things would never be the same between us. I wasn't just angry. I felt betrayed, disrespected, and utterly alone. The first week was hell. Lily, sensing the change in routine and the absence of her mother, was clingier than usual. She cried more, woke up more frequently at night, and needed constant attention during the day. I was juggling my remote job, trying to meet deadlines, while simultaneously being a full-time caregiver to a demanding 1-year-old. Every task felt monumental. Meal prep became a military operation, showering felt like a luxury, and sleep was a distant memory. I remember one particularly rough night. Lily had a fever and was inconsolable. I walked the floors with her for hours, singing lullabies, trying everything to soothe her. My eyes burned with exhaustion, my body ached, and tears of frustration welled up. I looked at the clock, 3:00 a.m. I thought about Sarah, probably sipping wine in a charming Parisian cafe, completely oblivious to the chaos and suffering she had left behind. The bitterness was a physical ache in my chest. I sent her a text, a short, frustrated message. Lily has a fever, can't sleep. I'm losing my mind here. Her response came hours later when I was finally dozing off on the sofa with Lily asleep on my chest. Oh no, hope she feels better soon. Try some Tylenol. Having a blast in Rome, the Colosseum was amazing. Talk soon. It was like a punch to the gut. No empathy, no genuine concern, just a superficial suggestion and a glowing update on her vacation. That's when something shifted in me. The anger solidified into a quiet, simmering resolve. I wasn't just going to survive this month. I was going to make sure she understood the consequences of her actions. I wasn't going to punish Lily ever. My daughter was innocent and deserved all my love and attention. But Sarah needed to learn a lesson. So that's the situation I was in, completely alone with our 1-year-old, exhausted and furious, while my wife explored Europe. And I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. What would your revenge have looked like? I spent the next few weeks meticulously planning. My revenge wouldn't be dramatic or explosive. It would be quiet, calculated, and designed to hit her where it hurt the most, her comfortable, well-ordered life. First, the house. Sarah was a neat freak, almost obsessively so. Every item had its place, every surface was spotless. I, on the other hand, was more laid back. But while she was away, I decided to fully embrace the chaos of a 1-year-old. Toys were left scattered. Dishes sometimes sat in the sink a little longer and laundry piled up in baskets. I focused solely on Lily's well-being and my own survival. The house became a testament to my solo parenting efforts, a beautiful, messy monument to her absence. I took countless photos, not of the mess, but of Lily laughing amidst the toys, of her covered in food after a particularly enthusiastic meal, of the sheer, unadulterated joy of being a dad, even a sleep-deprived one. These photos weren't for Sarah. They were for me, reminders of the bond Lily and I were forging in her absence. The second part of my plan involved finances. Sarah had always been in charge of our joint credit card, meticulously tracking every expense. She was quite controlling about money, often scrutinizing my purchases. While she was gone, I decided to take advantage of my new single-parent status. I wasn't going to blow our savings, but I was going to spend a little more freely on things that would make my life with Lily easier and more enjoyable. I bought a new, high-tech stroller that could navigate any terrain, making our long walks in the park more comfortable. I invested in a premium baby food delivery service, saving me hours of meal prep. I subscribed to a few streaming services I'd always wanted, for those rare moments of quiet when Lily was asleep. I even splurged on a weekly cleaning service for the living areas, not to clean up the mess I was letting accumulate, but to at least keep the common spaces somewhat manageable, a small act of self-preservation. Each purchase was made with a quiet satisfaction, knowing that Sarah would see the statements when she returned. The third and perhaps most impactful part of my plan centered around communication. Sarah had been calling sporadically, usually late at night, often when I was already asleep or just getting Lily down. Her calls were always enthusiastic accounts of her day, her adventures, her newfound freedom. She rarely asked about Lily in detail or about how I was truly coping. My responses became progressively shorter, colder, and less engaging. When she asked, "How are things?" I'd simply say, "Fine," or "We're managing." When she'd ask about Lily, I'd give a brief, factual update. She ate well, she napped for an hour. I stopped offering details, stopped sharing the cute moments, the milestones, the funny things Lily did. I kept all of that for myself, cherishing them in private. I started sending her photos of Lily, but intentionally curated them. Instead of the perfectly posed, clean baby shots she usually preferred, I sent her candid, messy, and sometimes even blurry photos. Lily covered in mud after playing outside, Lily with food smeared across her face, Lily mid-tantrum in the grocery store. I made sure these photos captured the raw, unglamorous reality of solo parenting an infant. I wanted her to see what she was missing, what she had left me to deal with. I also started a small private journal, documenting everything, Lily's first steps, which she took while Sarah was away, a moment I captured on video, a moment Sarah would never witness firsthand, her new words, her developing personality. These were memories I would treasure, memories Sarah would only hear about secondhand, if at all. As the month drew to a close, Sarah's calls became more frequent, laced with an underlying tone of anticipation, as if she expected to simply pick up where she left off. She mentioned excitedly, "Can't wait to tell you all about Rome," or "Get ready for some amazing stories from Paris." Never once did she say, "I miss you," or "I miss Lily," or "Thank you for holding down the fort." It was always about her. A few days before her return, she called, bubbling with excitement. "I'm flying back on Saturday. Can you pick me up from the airport around 5 p.m.? I took a deep breath. This was it, the culmination of my quiet rebellion. "Actually, Sarah," I said, my voice calm, almost emotionless, "I won't be able to pick you up." A beat of silence. "What do you mean you won't be able to pick me up? Why not?" she asked, her tone suddenly sharper, less joyful. "Well, I've made plans," I replied. "Lily and I are going to my parents' house for the weekend. We're leaving early Saturday morning." There was a gasp on the other end of the line. "Your parents' house? For the weekend? But I'm coming home. You can't just leave. What about me? How am I supposed to get home? And what about Lily? I haven't seen her in a month." I let her finish, then calmly stated, "You decided to go away for a month, Sarah. You made your plans. I made mine. I arranged to visit my parents well in advance because, frankly, I needed a break. I've been doing this alone for 4 weeks, remember. They're really excited to see Lily. As for getting home, I'm sure you can call a taxi or an Yuba or ask a friend. You're resourceful, I'm sure you'll figure it out." The silence this time was much longer, filled with her stunned disbelief. "You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?" she finally whispered, her voice laced with a fury I had only heard a few times before. "Yes, Sarah, I am," I said, my voice unwavering. "You wanted your freedom, your break. So did I. You got yours, and now I'm taking mine. And I'm taking Lily with me. She's been through enough changes. She needs some stability and familiar faces. My parents have offered to help me regroup." She started to yell then, her voice cracking with rage. "This is insane, John. This is childish. You are being utterly ridiculous. I'm your wife. You can't just abandon me at the airport. You abandoned us for a month, Sarah, and Lily is my daughter. I'm not abandoning her. I'm taking her to see her grandparents, where she'll be loved and cared for, and where I can finally get a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. You'll have the house all to yourself, just like you wanted to have Europe all to yourself. Enjoy your quiet re-entry into reality. I'll be back on Sunday evening." And then, before she could launch into another tirade, I hung up. The satisfaction was immense, a deep, resonant hum of vindication. The drive to my parents' house with Lily was a breath of fresh air. My parents were ecstatic to see us, doting on Lily and fussing over me, asking how I'd managed. I told them everything, holding nothing back. My mom, bless her heart, was furious on my behalf. "That woman has some nerve, leaving you with an infant for a month." My dad, ever the calmer one, just shook his head. "She's going to have a rude awakening when she gets home." I let them spoil Lily, and for the first time in a month I truly relaxed. I got long, uninterrupted stretches of sleep, ate home-cooked meals, and had adult conversations that didn't involve baby talk. It was exactly what I needed. Meanwhile, Sarah's return was, from what I later gathered, exactly as chaotic as I had intended. She had to take an expensive taxi home, lugging her suitcases up the driveway by herself. She walked into a house that, while not completely trashed, certainly bore the marks of a month of solo dad and baby living. Toys were indeed everywhere. A faint smell of stale milk permeated the nursery, and the laundry piles were still very much present. I later heard from her best friend, Jessica, who was clearly on my side after hearing my version of events, that Sarah had called her, absolutely livid, complaining about the state of the house and my selfishness. Jessica, to her credit, had apparently told Sarah, "What did you expect, Sarah? You left him with a baby for a month. He was probably just trying to survive." That felt like a small victory. When Lily and I returned on Sunday evening, Sarah was sitting on the sofa, bathed, showered, and looking utterly miserable amidst the controlled chaos. The house, while still messy, was somewhat more organized than I had left it. She had clearly made an effort to clean up some of the more egregious messes. She looked up as we walked in, her face pale. Lily, seeing her mother, toddled towards her with a cry of "Mama," and Sarah enveloped her in a tight hug. I watched, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside me. relief that Lily was happy to see her, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, this experience had changed Sarah. We sat down, and for the first time in a long time we had a real conversation. Sarah, surprisingly, didn't immediately launch into an attack. Instead, she looked at me, her eyes red-rimmed, and said, "I'm sorry, John, I was wrong." It wasn't the apology I expected, but it was a start. She admitted that the trip, while initially exciting, had become tinged with guilt and worry, especially after my short, cold responses and the messy photos. She confessed that seeing the messy house, picking herself up from the airport, and realizing she was utterly alone in that moment had been a harsh dose of reality. "I thought you would just handle it," she admitted, her voice small. "I didn't realize how much you actually do, how hard it really is to manage everything with Lily. I was selfish. I was so caught up in my own feelings of being overwhelmed that I completely disregarded yours and what you would have to go through. And seeing Lily's first steps in that video you sent, knowing I missed that really hit me." She cried then, a genuine heartfelt sob. I didn't immediately forgive her, but I listened. I told her calmly precisely how I felt, betrayed, disrespected, taken for granted, and deeply hurt. I explained the exhaustion, the loneliness, the fear of being truly alone with an infant for so long. I laid out all the details, the sleepless nights, the difficult days, the milestones she missed. I showed her the journal, filled with Lily's firsts, things I had kept private because I felt she didn't deserve to share in those joys after abandoning us. We talked for hours, long after Lily was asleep. I told her about the expenses, the cleaning service, the baby food delivery. I watched as the realization of her financial impact dawned on her, adding another layer to her guilt. It wasn't a magic fix. Our marriage didn't instantly heal, but that conversation and the weeks that followed were the beginning of a long, difficult road to recovery. Sarah started therapy, acknowledging her struggles with postpartum emotions and the immense pressure she felt. She began to actively participate more in Lily's care, taking on more of the night feeds, planning product, and actually wanting to spend time with our daughter. She showed genuine remorse, and slowly, painstakingly, she started to earn back my trust. We went to couples counseling where we hashed out our communication issues, our expectations, and our shared responsibilities. It's still a work in progress, but we are working on it. I still have moments of anger, moments where the resentment flares up, especially when I think about Lily's first steps, a moment I witnessed alone, a moment that should have been shared. But I also see Sarah trying, truly trying, to be a better partner and a more present mother. She even planned a surprise trip for just the three of us, a short weekend getaway, where she took on the majority of the childcare, letting me relax and enjoy our daughter. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. Looking back, my revenge wasn't about hurting her, not really. It was about showing her the reality of what she had done, the immense burden she had placed on me, and the consequences of her actions. It was about making her truly understand, not just intellectually but emotionally, what it meant to be the sole caregiver for our child. And in a strange, roundabout way, it might have been the wake-up call our marriage needed. It forced her to confront her issues, and it forced me to stand up for myself and set boundaries. It was a brutal way to learn a lesson, but sometimes those are the lessons that stick. So that's my story. It's been a wild ride and the scars are still there, but we're moving forward. Like this video if you were on my side and understood why I did what I did. Subscribe for more stories like this, and please share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.